Okay, we're starting the anesthesia. You might start to feel drowsy. Okay. Oh, yeah. A little... Whew. Oh, boy. And a little loopy. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling real Fruit Loopy. All right, we're gonna take you into the OR now, okay? Okay. Hey, you wanna know something crazy? If I was in Texas or Alabama or something, I don't think I'd be able to do this. What? Oh, honey, of course you could.
2 weeks later.
Hello, my name is Alyssa, and in January 2022, I could tell something was very, very wrong with my body. Which, to be fair, is a common occurrence for me. I battled eczema as soon as I popped out of the womb. I then survived pneumonia before I could even spell pneumonia. I was later diagnosed with asthma and went to asthma camp. I've struggled with my mental health and only recently found out I was on the spectrum. And you do not want to be around me after I've eaten cheese. Cheap bathroom humor aside, in 2022, my restroom was no longer a place of rest. Because I had just gotten my period, but it was nothing like it had ever been in my 25 years of owning a uterus. This period was extremely heavy, and I grew up with heavy periods, but this varmint was not privy to being tamed. Mother Nature managed to soak through regular-sized pads in 2 hours or less. A new personal record! Good for you! Why are you doing that? Oh, God! And the pain. God. Again, I know period cramps all too well, but this pain was worse than cramps. It was unending, uninterrupted, and unyielding to Advil. It left me bedridden. And anytime I did get up to, eat, pee, or clean up the Kool-Aid again, I would get lightheaded and dizzy from the blood loss. I also unintentionally lost 10% of my body weight. But thankfully, after a week on Mother Nature's wild ride, it stopped. Well, kinda. The debilitating pain was only a temporary thing, but the period stayed. I mean, it did go from Splash Mountain to more of a lazy river, I guess. But even if this was just a new thing Mother Nature wanted to test run, a period is supposed to end after about a week. So frankly, I was surprised I still had any blood left in me. My mom's a labor and delivery nurse, the one who catches babies when they're born, so whenever weird things happen with my uterus, I consult her. But she was stumped, so she recommended I just go to my local Planned Parenthood, which, by the way, I've been to before, for general checkups because my primary doctor didn't have any appointments. But this was the first time I'd be going for uterus-related reasons, and I was nervous. But the people who work at Planned Parenthood have always been the sweetest, most understanding group of nurses, doctors, and healthcare professionals I've ever met. So, in case you've never been, here's how that goes. First, I went online to locate my nearest Planned Parenthood. Then I called the number. But before I could even talk to someone about my symptoms or set up an appointment, the person over the phone had a whole rigmarole to ensure I was in a safe household, had safe partners and people around me, and to understand they would only call me from a private number that couldn't be traced, just in case I was in an unsafe situation and couldn't be truthful during this phone call. And for some phone calls, we even set a temporary password to say out loud in case anyone tried to pretend to be me to access my records without my consent. And I'll admit, when this was explained to me, I was confused. It seemed like a lot just for a little checkup, but then I thought about it. Planned Parenthood has got to be the most divisive place to walk into, let alone discuss out loud. After setting my appointment, which thankfully I was able to get within the next day or so, the lady on the phone made sure to tell me this. Make sure you show up to the correct address and only talk to people with Planned Parenthood badges. Some people might try to approach you, yell at you, or convince you to go to another building. They don't work for us, but they may lie and pretend they do to keep you from going to your appointment. And silly old me thought, but I'm in California, the most hippy-dippy do-whatever-you-want kind of place, right? Surely there won't be. There was a huge crowd of people. If I had to guess, there were about 20 people standing right at the entrance, holding signs, chanting, and cars driving by were honking and giving thumbs up to them. And I had to drive right next to them, into the parking lot. They saw my face, I saw all of theirs, And the way they looked at me was, I don't know, like pity, almost. They were laser focused on me, but not in a concerned way. It was more like a face that says, "What are you doing here?" Which probably sounds weird, but that's the best way I could describe it. I did my best to avoid eye contact and confrontation until I made it inside. And to my surprise, the people outside were so loud that I could hear them chanting and yelling from inside the waiting room. And it felt awful. They had no idea what was going on inside me. Heck, I didn't even know what was going on inside me. That's why I came here. But here they were, pretending to know why I was here, pretending to care about my body, and doing so by raising such a ruckus about it that I didn't feel safe simply going to a doctor's appointment to find out whether or not I'm dying. And on top of that, accusing me and my doctors of murder. And the most fucked up part of me believed them. Even though I knew what they were chanting couldn't be further from the truth. Once the nurse called me back, we did all the normal doctor stuff. She took my weight, she checked my blood pressure, listened to my lungs, all that. Then she led me to a, regular doctor office patient room and told me to wait there for the doctor to come in, just like a normal checkup, except with people chanting and yelling horrible things outside. When the doctor came in, I told her what was going on and how I had never experienced anything like this before. Are you on birth control? Have you had any new partners? Do you use protection? Have you been under any stress lately? The doctor was very limited in what she was allowed to do since she worked at Planned Parenthood. She advised me to see my OBGYN, which is a special kind of doctor that's most known for managing pregnancy and all things related to that, and request I have an ultrasound done to see what was going on inside my uterus. So I did. I left the building, walked past the scary people outside, drove home, and called my OBGYN. Unfortunately, they're a very busy place, so I wasn't able to get an appointment until March, which didn't work with my schedule, so I got an appointment in April. So, to recap, it's April, my uterus has been lazy rivering with week-long spurts of Splash Mountain for 4 months straight. I was slowly losing blood, energy, and my will to live, but at this point, I was just used to it. I just planned my life around it, because what other choice did I have? And that's when my doctor discovered something in my uterus. It was only 1 centimeter big, so maybe the size of an M&M, but it was attached to the inside wall of my uterus, and it was growing, or trying to, at least. Because although it had begun to grow there, my uterus wasn't capable of sustaining it. And so, as my doctor theorized, Mother Nature was trying her darndest to wash it down the drain, so to speak. But it was still hanging on despite her efforts. That's why I was bleeding so much. That's why I was so tired. There was something growing inside of me. My body couldn't take it, and it was doing its best to get rid of it per usual natural processes, but it just wasn't strong enough. At least, not without medical intervention. But my doctor said that was up to me. And I was terrified when she explained this to me. This had never happened to me before, and I did everything right. I was always careful. I'd been on birth control since the age of 15, nearly 10 years at this point. So how could this happen? And what was I supposed to do now? I was scared of letting my body attempt to pass it on its own, considering that was clearly not working. And I was scared of it growing and potentially killing me, but I was also terrified of getting it removed. And the potential for that kind of surgery to come up in conversation one day. My doctor did her best to calm me down and explain neutrally, this is just what happens sometimes when you're young. Your uterus is full of hormones, and you can be as safe and as careful and as healthy as you can, but things happen. Things outside of our control. Things just grow there sometimes. But she assured me for every next step that I was in control. Choice A was to leave it, come back in a month and get another ultrasound to see if it's gotten any bigger, or if Mother Nature miraculously managed to shoot it out into the splash zone. Or, choice B, they schedule a dilation and curettage, also known as a D&C, also known as an abortion. But it was my choice to make. She revealed to me this happened to her too when she was my age, but she chose to not get surgery. She said her body was able to pass it eventually, and nothing bad happened, although it was very bloody, very painful, and very scary at the time. She knew I was a young woman, a working woman, that I had a lot on my plate already, and I didn't have a partner at the time to go to these appointments with me and hold my hand when I was scared. But again, she assured me it was my choice to make, and she would honor it, no matter what. So, I decided to go for the D&C. But I had to wait another 2 months. The soonest they could get me in was June 9th to be exact, which, fun fact, was about 2 weeks before I went to VidCon. And double fun fact, this was the same time frame that the Supreme Court was reconsidering the 1973 landmark ruling of Roe v. Wade that concluded the right to access abortion. So I gained another fear that this procedure would not happen, that my doctors would be arrested, and that I would die. Gotta laugh through the pain, man. A week before my doctors went in, another ultrasound revealed the regular M&M had now grown to a peanuts M&M, and a second regular-sized M&M had cropped up in my cervix. Terrifying. Thankfully, I was able to have my surgery on the 9th. I got the 2 growths removed, and a couple weeks later, the lab confirmed the mysterious, fast-growing lumps inside my uterus were benign, meaning I did not have uterine or cervical cancer.
What? Wait a minute. You said you had an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't.
Well, technically, according to the law, I did. Since the Supreme Court eliminated the federal right to an abortion and has now left it up to each individual state to decide, the procedure performed on my body, a procedure that removes unwanted tissue from inside the uterus, in some states, by law, is now considered an abortion.
No, it wasn't. You didn't have a baby in you. You weren't pregnant.
I know. I know that, you know that, and my doctors know that, but lawmakers don't. They're not me, they're not you, and they're not doctors. Most of them don't even have a uterus, let alone fidelity in their marriages, and yet they get to define what an abortion is. And according to their broad, vague, and flimsy definitions, I had an abortion. God forbid you miscarry and the unviable fetus is killing you from the inside out, you would also need a D&C. But the law would say, ooh, sorry, that's an abortion, and we can't allow that. Isn't that messed up? So let me reiterate this in the simplest of terms. It didn't matter that the clump of cells inside me had toenails or cancer. Because as of June 24th, 2022, a doctor who performs a surgery to empty a uterus for any reason, and anyone who receives that surgery, no matter what's going on, are at risk of being arrested, fined, and or sent to prison, according to their state laws. In some states, they're even considering the death penalty. And in even more states, doctors are leaving, hospitals are understaffed, and people are dying. If I didn't have that procedure, I'd still be crying in bed from not just the pain and the blood and the exhaustion from my maybe cancerous tumors as they grew bigger and bigger. I'd also be crying because I'd have no choice but to die a slow and painful death. Did you hear me? I would have no choice. So if you felt betrayed that I would dare to call this procedure by the same watered-down language as our own laws, but then breathed a sigh of relief once you found out it was just a tumor and not an embryo, you need to confront the fact that you don't value my life. You don't value the living. You only value an organ and its ability to produce children, not the actual living, breathing person who, for some reason, has to beg for the right to their life, their liberty, and their happiness. That's what this is all about. That's what this has always been about. It's not an opinion. It's my life. It's my choice. Thank you for watching my video, and as always, stay safe.